I don't know if you celebrate all the same holidays that I do. I know that a bunch of you who are part of this conversation are from different parts of the world, different cultures, different subcultures than my own. But I got a pretty good mental map in my head of how the year goes and where all the different holidays and events fit into that, the things I need to buy gifts for, what I need to do for all of them, how you decorate for all of them, what the color schemes are for all of them. And they all have a certain vibe. And I'm guessing that whatever holidays you celebrate, whatever the rhythm of the year is for you, there's a vibe to it as well. 4th of July, which is our Independence Day in my country, it feels like barbecue and hot weather and hanging out outside. It feels very celebratory. It really isn't a time of great reflection on the blessings of liberty. It's just sort of a party with explosions, and that's fun. Thanksgiving is very somber. The color palette is very muted, earth-tony, and it is a time to reflect and take it easy. The weather kind of dictates that to you anyway. It is a bit of a sleepier holiday. That's the vibe. Christmas is a very jovial holiday. It feels like it's a time of year for forgiveness, straightening things out. The vibe is humble joy and forgiveness and giving away goodwill and cheer to other people, following the example of the gift that God gave to us and giving gifts to other people. The vibe of the new year, it's a little different color palette than the green and the red of Christmas that I visualize. The new year color palette is a little bit lighter in color in my brain for whatever reason. And there are kind of two ways to celebrate it. Some people go real hard and it's like their last night on earth and they celebrate the end of the year and get in everything they didn't get in before. For other people, there's more of an optimism and a looking forward that comes with that, but it's very, very celebratory. And I think the vibe of that holiday is such that everybody acts real happy, but deep down another year has ticked off the calendar and there's a little bit of somberness and sobriety, but it's all masked by this air of celebration. Maybe that's not the case for you, but that's the case as I see it. Easter can happen anywhere from March into late April. And so the color scheme is sort of pastel and springy. For whatever reason, the weather is almost always good on Easter morning, but there the vibe is optimism, new life. It seemed like everything was going to be dead forever, and now it's all awakening again. And it fits so well with the resurrection motif. And I could go through all the holidays and talk about the color scheme of all the holidays and the vibe of all the holidays, but you get it. And you're filling this in your own brain with however you mark your year as well. As a result, there are certain holidays every year that fit certain circumstances better, certain moments in the ebb and flow, the life cycle of a person and the emotions that we go through. And the calendar just happens in Nehemiah chapter 8 to sync up really well with this mixed air of celebration and repentance, deep heartfelt regret over past failures and an awareness of a need for forgiveness. Now, these two events happen pretty close to each other in the calendar year. There's a day of atonement, a day where this general seeking of forgiveness and awareness of sins is the point of focus. But then there's also this festival or this feast of booths. Booths, man, that's a tough plural to say. Booths. And that feast, that festival is one that is highly celebratory. And, well, obviously, that's the vibe of what we have going on here in Nehemiah chapter 8, as the walls are built, but also the law is being read, and everybody is feeling this collective sense of yikes as they hear the law and realize how far they have strayed from it. And yesterday, I spent a whole episode, saying words and trying to characterize how those two sets of emotions coincided in this moment. And then after I got done talking, I was looking down here in the little note section in my Bible, and I discovered that there's one sentence down here that does a better job of saying it than everything I said yesterday. So get this. This is what, what's this guy's name? Charles Ryrie says about this particular situation. He says, "The people grieved because they had not obeyed the law. They rejoiced that they could now understand it and obey it." Huh. Yeah, that's super. they're going to get to do more than just rejoice. They're going to get to have a whole festival celebrating this because they just so happen to get to have a whole festival to celebrate this newfound optimism and the fact that they've accomplished what they have with the walls. And that story unfolds here starting in Nehemiah chapter 8, right after 3 different times. The leadership is like, stop crying. You don't have to mourn or weep. It's a great sacred day. This is good. You don't stop. Don't grieve, for the joy of the Lord is our strength. Be still, for this is a sacred day. Don't grieve. All of that stuff gets said. And then verse 12 goes like this. Then all the people went away to eat and drink, to send portions of food, and to celebrate with great joy, because they now understood the words that had been made known to them. That is so good. And frankly, it's very charitable on the part of the author of Nehemiah here to give the people the benefit of the doubt. They didn't understand it before. It was going over their head. It was a real problem. It was a cultural crisis because there was some vague recollection of the law, and there's religious perfunctory lip service where like, yeah, God, and we're religious people, we're set apart and all of that stuff. But what has been exposed here in the last 12 verses of chapter 8 is that they didn't know what it meant. They had no idea how this actually worked or what they actually believed or why or what it would look like for them to live that out. They just sort of had internalized osmotically a few religious platitudes and basic frameworks of belief, but it wasn't translating into how they lived. And now that someone actually explained it to them, and someone took the time, instead of just trying to look smart for themselves and impress their academic religious peers, instead somebody was like, let's just look like idiots and make it make sense to everybody. And let's make the objective of this the people who are hearing it, getting it, instead of us looking smart. They did that thing. They humbled themselves in front of the people they were trying to serve, and it was incredibly powerful. It clicks and they get it. And it's very sobering because now that they get it, they realize how far they've strayed from it. But very quickly that is replaced with hope and optimism. Like, hey, we understand it now. We can actually do the things we're supposed to do and be the people we're supposed to be. Look, I mean, I feel like the tone that the author is striking here is such that he's distributing guilt for what went wrong here all around. He's not prepared to say, well, the religious leaders, they nailed it. They said true things at people, and if the people didn't hear it, that's their own dang fault. No, I think he's acknowledging that maybe the past approach wasn't hands-on enough and not enough effort was made to actually compassionately teach this material in a way that could be understood. It's complex stuff. To teach it in a way that could be understood to the people. So there's some culpability on the parts of the leaders who didn't maybe break any of the rules, but didn't do a good job of nurturing the people under their care. And then obviously there's culpability on the part of the people who maybe out of a little bit of laziness became lax. Maybe they were a bit inattentive, and as a result, they did wander and stray from all of this. Look, it's one of those moments where everybody's of good cheer. That's the vibe of the holiday, of the moment. And they can all effectively be saying to each other, hey, it doesn't matter how we got here. We all have a hand in how we got off track. But the point is, we're on track now. We were off track together. Now we're on track together. What can we do about the past? We can't unmake that. We can only move forward. Is there anything more powerful than that realization, by the way? That forgiveness-driven realization that the flow of time is such that we can learn from the past, but we can't undo the stuff we screwed up. It's back there, yep, but I can't turn back time. All I can do now is take what happened there and try to flip it around into something redemptive, learn things that I need to learn, forgive what I need to forgive, and move forward in grace and peace. This is such a powerful thing. And to have all of these people get it at once is cause for celebration. So they got choice food and drink, and they're taking care of the people who can't afford to celebrate. They're making sure everybody's involved in this celebration. And this holiday that's occurring simultaneously feels like something brand new that is born out of the circumstances and this powerful awakening that is occurring, but it also feels like it's connected to something very, very old, an ancient celebratory festival that had maybe fallen out of fashion, and that, like all of the stuff in the book of the law, the people didn't really understand why they did it. They didn't really take it seriously. They didn't really understand what the vibe of this festival was supposed to be, or the color palette was supposed to be, or why any of that matters. And in the stuff we're going to look at tomorrow, they're about to become reacquainted with that. And the timing on this is going to be absolutely perfect, in the same way that you're in a phase of life where maybe you suffer a deep loss of someone you love deeply, and it comes in the coldest parts of winter, late February into March. Everything is gray and bleak, and there's snow on the ground, and you're cooped up in your house wrestling with grief and loss. And then Holy Week happens, and then Easter happens, and the snow starts to melt off, and maybe you see the beginnings of buds on the trees and the first little flashes of green, and the world around you tells the story of new life, even when things seem utterly bleak. And then all the stuff about Jesus conquering the grave, and all the things that you sing, and the rhythms of that holiday, and even the color palette of that holiday. It would be perfectly timed in such a scenario to nourish your soul and to give you encouragement in the face of that kind of a loss. In the same way that such a scenario would be a perfect union between a difficult rhythm in your life and the rhythm that would prop you up and nourish your soul in the right way with a holiday that's built into the rhythm of the year. So I think that's exactly what we're getting here in Nehemiah chapter 8, and we'll look at the next part of that next time around. I just got really excited and detailed about holidays and color palettes. I didn't even get into Halloween, Labor Day, and Memorial Day, Secretary's Day. There's so much more. August is a bummer, though, because you don't get any holidays in August. There's nothing there. My anniversary is in August, so that's good. It has a color palette in my brain, but it doesn't translate to everybody else. Well, I guess I just discovered that I'm a sucker for holidays. All right, bring it on. More of this tomorrow. I'm Matt. This is the 10-Minute Bible Hour podcast. Let's do this again soon.